Hello, my name is Steve Fox. I'm General Manager of the Canadian Sheet Steel Building Institute. Welcome to this third video in our series on the Carbon Neutral Steel Building System project. In this video, we'll discuss the results of Phase 2, where we look at some of the design considerations of an actual net zero building. We're here with Mr. Stephen Kemp from Intermodal Engineering, who carried out the work on Phase 2 of this project. Steve, thanks for being here with us today and taking the time. Before we get into talking about the details of the project, can you tell us a little bit about Intermodal Engineering and the work your company does?
Intermodal Engineering, we've been in business for 25 years now, although recognized a lot of success in the last 10 years. We primarily focus on sustainable buildings, and that is our singular focus. We don't get involved with traditional business as usual buildings. So to that end, we're always been interested in low energy buildings, LEED certified buildings with the Canadian Green Building Council. And that's our primary focus, is to both design and help the community design low energy buildings.
So just, Steve, can you just summarize for us the objectives of this phase of the project?
Well, the objective of this phase of the project was to come up with concept designs that will represent a net zero design for a 600 square meter retail building.
And can you tell us then, summarize the conclusions from your study? That
you can, in fact, develop a net zero retail building using steel. In fact, we did 5, but there was a point to doing 5, and the point of doing 5 was at one end we did a business as usual design and just slathered the roof and the entire parking area with renewable energy solar panels. This is not a cost-effective way to do it, but that was part of the point of demonstrating that. And at the other end, we've made the most energy efficient retail building we could conceive of that still respected the needs of being a retail building. And the result was that you needed, 1/4 or 1/5 of the renewable energy, and that you could get away with just putting the solar panels on just the roof. This greatly changed the cost of producing a net zero building. At one end, we were more than doubling the cost of creating this building with all the renewable energy associated with it. At the other end, we were probably increasing the cost by about 20 or 30%.
To take a building design from design modeling to reality, what are some of the challenges from your point of view?
Well, the first challenge is when you're predicting the energy use of a net zero building, it means you actually have to predict the energy use of the building. There's lots of computer tools to help you do this. All computers tools are garbage in, garbage out. What assumptions you put into those tools is a key factor to how close you can actually match reality. We're fortunate in that we have a great deal of measured data in our firm. We've been measuring real retail buildings and real office buildings, and we've been using those lessons to inform the assumptions that we're putting into these models, so that we're reasonably confident we're having a very good idea of what the actual in real life performance of these buildings would be. But second to that, of course, is choosing systems that have a track record of actually performing. There are lots of pie-in-the-sky widgets. Put this in the building, it will save 50 and 60%. Magic balls and widgets that do this. We very much grounded the design options we looked at in reality, tested and true, that have been performed and have a track record. So we wanted to be able to produce designs. These were still concept designs, but concept designs that would bear out in reality achieving the goals.
So Steve, we talked about this project being, the objective is to get a net zero building, right? Net zero is a function of a number of things, and operating energy and embodied energy are two, right? Can you just give us your take on that and the importance of each?
For most building types, or most, I guess, business as usual buildings, the embodied energy of the building probably represents 4 or 5 years, as most studies are showing, of the operating energy of a building. Which is to say, most of the time I don't pay attention to embodied energy because I need to fix the operating energy. In a net zero building, now you're talking about a building that on an annual basis doesn't consume any energy. It's producing as much as it's consuming. So all of a sudden now that completely turns the embodied energy argument I just made on its head, because the embodied energy is all of the energy use of this building. So once we start getting into net zero buildings, then embodied energy is the focus going beyond. The next phase of net zero energies is going to be all about the embodied energy.
But you talked about different criteria of assessing and the Waterloo sustainability model and that approach. But in a net zero building, is embodied energy included in that model?
I think there are some definitions that do look at it that way. From my own personal point of view, we need to actually start producing the net zero buildings first. Once we solve that problem, then embodied energy becomes a significant, the next thing to tackle. I think that's the natural progression. That having been said, we should be looking at it, while we're thinking about net zero buildings, we should definitely be thinking about the embodied energy.
Thank you, Steve, for coming to talk to us today. And remember, come back to the CSSBI website in the future to see additional videos on the carbon neutral steel building system.